views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Chari Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, hosting Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll discuss holiday blues and different ways to overcome it through cognitive behavioral therapy when we speak to Dr. Simon Rego about his new book, the CBT Workbook for Mental Health. After that, we'll speak to the cast of Torched, a people-ignited Pregones PRTT's latest musical highlighting the legendary Bronx fires of the 70s. Then we'll hear about Irie's Girls and Boys International Organization's annual toy and coat drive for children in transitional temporary housing with this year's theme, Believe Again. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on poet, author Peggy Robles-Alvarado, who will tell us about her two platforms highlighting women in rebellion, followed by a performance at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome back to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow me on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So although the pandemic has brought a new normal to everyday living, the holidays continue to bring depression and sadness for most people. And well, our next guest is a certified board cognitive behavioral psychologist and the chief of psychology at Montefiore Medical Center. Today, he joins us to discuss his new book, the CBT Workbook for Mental Health, that is filled with exercises to help transform negative thoughts to manage one's well-being. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Simon A. Rego. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome back, Dr. Rego.
Pleasure.
Thanks for drafting this up for us.
Well, thank you for giving it a read. I really appreciate you spreading the word about how this can be helpful to, I think, almost anyone, especially during the holiday season.
So let's start by introducing everyone to the term cognitive behavioral therapy. Let's define it for everyone so they understand its origins.
Yeah, for sure. And it does sound very technical and scientific, so it's important to, I really appreciate you saying, let's start with a simple version of what it is. So cognitive is our term for what goes on in our minds. So another way to think of cognitive or cognitions are thoughts or ideas we have about things. So the C of CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy is really just addressing one's thought patterns, the way we think about things and differentiating that from the way things are. There's things that happen, and then there's the way we think about things that happen, and they're not always the same. And then the B of the behavioral part is our actions. What you do and what you don't do are behaviors. So the things that we could see someone doing or not doing. And then in CBT, we look at thoughts and behaviors and see how those play together to influence our moods, like anxiety or depression or anger or sadness. So CBT does those, it looks at thoughts and actions and sees how it influences our mood.
So it's almost like taking a look into your belief system.
The big part, one half of it at least, is examining the beliefs we hold and teaching people to be willing to be curious about those beliefs, or maybe a little less rigid about those beliefs, especially if we find those beliefs are connected two emotions that we find quite upsetting.
So do you find that since the pandemic that mental health awareness has heightened and that there's a destigmatization that is actually being exercised and people kind of just embracing the possibility that they do need additional assistance?
Well, I'll give you half of it and a hope for the other half. I definitely think with the pandemic, if there is a silver lining in this dark cloud, it is that now we're all being confronted with the reality that mental health plays in our life. And I don't think there's a person that hasn't been touched emotionally by the pandemic. The stigma part, I still worry about a little bit. Unfortunately, we're still in a society where people mistakenly think that they're weak if they struggle emotionally or mentally, or that it's all made up and in someone's head and it's not the same as a medical condition. And I think it's getting better because you see more role models, celebrities, athletes talking about it, but I still unfortunately think we have a ways to go there. We're better, but there's still.
Yeah. Well, it starts with the awareness, right? And so, you know, you mentioned stress, depression, anxiety, and they're all also mentioned in your book. And so I learned somewhere, and you know, you're the expert, that depression can loan itself to thoughts of the past, whereas anxiety can loan itself to thoughts of the future. And the one thing I really enjoy about your book is that it's a workbook. It's not just a book to read, it's a book to exercise. So can you elaborate further on the difference between depression and anxiety?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so they're both emotions, right? One says they feel depressed. And when you feel depressed, we get a sense of what that means. It's a sort of more extreme version of sadness, right? And there's a lot of symptoms that come with that, but they're usually lead people to feel quite down. Whereas anxiety is really an emotion of stress and threat, and it gears people up in that fight or flight response and makes them feel quite agitated or worked up. And so we distinguish the two often, back to our book, about thinking about the relation to thoughts have to these two emotions. And you're exactly right. There tends to be, in depression, a focus on the past, all the things in our life that went wrong, or that we've lost, or that we've struggled with. And we ruminate over those, which means we go over them over and over again, which can be tied with a depressed mood. Whereas with anxiety, we tend to have our thoughts looking towards the future and asking ourselves a bunch of what if questions that we answer in a negative way. What if this happens? Then that'll be really bad. What if that happens? That's not going to be good. And in doing that over and over again, that's what we call worry in our thought patterns. And that leads us to feel quite anxious if we're always predicting doom and gloom in our future. That's how we like to distinguish the two.
And so the goal is, and you definitely bring it up in your book, is to always come back to present, which sounds easier said than done.
That is certainly one of the ways that you can learn to manage thoughts related to depression or anxiety, is to build the muscle of your mind into focusing on the present, the here and now, the actual only place we have any control over. We can't do a thing, unfortunately, about what's gone on, and we have relatively little control over what's going to happen, especially in the far future. So if we can focus our mind right to the present and learn how to, that's a muscle to be built, how to turn our attention here, then it can free us up from the thoughts that lead to depression and anxiety, and actually create a space where we can take productive action and do things to help create the future that we want and shape the direction we want to go in.
So, Dr. Rego, why do you think it is that people tend to fall into this depression during the holidays?
Yeah, you know, you'd think it's a positive time. We see the commercials, we read the books, and it seems like it's filled with so many positive moments, social gatherings, present exchanges. I think what it also does, unfortunately, is it tends to amplify some of the challenging moments we've had or have in our lives, which can lead to the holiday stresses and blues, such as if we've lost people, particularly in the pandemic, typically holidays remind us of past memories of time spent with people we love or care about. And if they're not there, we can feel the loss and feel sad about them not being there anymore. And similarly, with the holidays comes a lot of pressures to go to the holiday parties, buy the gifts, meet the deadlines for the end of the year, be out and doing a lot of things. And if you're financially stressed, or if you put too much effort into doing all those things, you can feel quite burnt out in the process. So there's a lot of pressure and stress inherent in trying to make the perfect holiday dinner or holiday function. And people tend to overcommit to those things and then feel the weight of those on themselves emotionally, which can be stress or anxiety as well.
And so, in closing, I'm a fervent meditator myself personally, and I know you also make mention of mindful meditation, which of course allows one to come back to present. Now, if one is dealing with all of this chaotic energy, and even though you have this book to be exercised as a means of reference, if they're not familiar with this work and or understand the language, would you say that meditation is the easiest way to get there?
I certainly think it's a way to get there. And what I might do is say we have to demystify what meditation is about too, because I think a lot of people will think you have to be in a lotus position, sitting under a tree somewhere. And there's lots of ways that one can be mindful, meditation being one of them, that create the same sort of impact. And I would say mindfulness you can do in almost any activity. It's really just attuning your mind to the present. So you can mindfully brush your teeth. You can mindfully eat a meal. You can mindfully have a walk. And then meditation is another way to really amplify mindfulness. You can sit and focus on your breathing, for example. But there are a multitude of ways in urban living that one can practice being mindful and reap the benefits of staying present in the moment without needing any special equipment or any special tools, but just a willingness to come back to the moment and focus on what's here in front of you. And that can be extraordinarily helpful in letting go of past upsetting events and also future-oriented worries.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for coming on our show and loaning your expertise to our viewers. That is Chief Department of Psychology at Montefiore Medical Center, Dr. Simon Rego. He's also the author of the CBT Workbook, Mental Health. And if you guys are interested in obtaining the book, the CBT Workbook for Mental Health, it's available on Amazon. And for more on Dr. Simon Rego and mental health resources, you can visit montefiore.org/psychiatry. Okay, we do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a new Latinx musical all about the Bronx fires. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. Our next guests are part of Pregones PRTT's newest Latinx production, Torch Day, People Ignited. The musical, it highlights the legendary era of the Bronx fires in the 70s and survival stories of the arson for profit business. The show alternates from past to present, incorporating the sounds of hip hop and salsa. And here to tell us more, we welcome director Rosalba Rolón and actors Nicely Vega, Claudia Ramos Jordan, and Jose Joaquin Garcia. Hello, welcome everybody.
Saludos, hello Rhina. Thank you for having us again.
Of course, we absolutely love everything Pregones is about and of course produces. So I know this has been 5 years in the making for you.
Yes.
And it's a very important story. So I would like to start with you, Rosalba, and just sharing why you felt compelled to mount this in a theatrical production, because I know some of your advisors were from the the documentary film Decade of Fire, and so it's a very important story that needs to be told, but it's kind of like interesting to kind of visualize it in musical form.
Yes, and thank you again, Rhina. Well, this is really from our point of view, a voice that is added to the countless voices over the past 50 years on dozens and hundreds of artists who have continued to talk about this decade of fire, right, of the 70s, because we can't forget how it happened, and also because it is as a result of that era the reputation of our borough was destroyed around the world. And Pregones is a touring company. As you know, we have been to travel to 18 countries in addition to hundreds of cities in the United States, and to find ourselves in far, far places in the world, in a mountain near Poland with rural folks, and being scared that we were coming back to the Bronx, and like, you know what the Bronx is? They thought they knew what the Bronx is. And I'm thinking, why would they know that? What do they think they know? And the same thing in every country we visited and in every city. And people worried, you know, are you safe? And I think, my goodness, the power of the entertainment industry, the power of the communication industry. And I said that so many artists have worked so hard, and we wanted to be one additional voice, and so this has been happening for some time. And then learning just more details about the arts and for profit business, we thought that since other magnificent work has been done about the victims and the neighborhood and the community, I said, can we shed additional light on the guilty party, on the perpetrators of this whole thing, and still be theater and musical and make it fun, and we can, like, you know what, kind of approach. And so and the film, Vivian's film Decade of Fire, inspired us immensely. So, but yes, it is a different take. These are slices of life that we go through, on the bodega owner, on the young activists, on the news, Latina news journalist who's trying to make it in the mainstream, and the role of Wall Street and the landlords and the insurance companies. And hopefully people will, as we have fun, because we never stop dancing and singing,
Right.
the worst of times, we learn something, or we at least continue the conversation. And each performance is being preceded by something that happens in the lobby. That's every day is a surprise, so we won't spoil that for you.
All right, yeah, don't spoil the surprise, but let's talk to some of the actors here, some of the performers. So I guess we can refer to Jose Joaquin Garcia as the bodeguero, right?
Yes.
Well, how is it for you? I mean, I understand that you've performed with Pregones since 1986.
Since 1986, as the Mets were climbing to get into the World Series, I was auditioning in an office in a school at that time. So, that's 35 years ago. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it sounds like a stellar cast. I mean, I wish I could go over everyone's bio, but the idea is that you you continue to employ our people of color, our Latino community, Puerto Rican and Latinx, because it's a combination of both. And then there's the actual story that's being told by these artists who are from the Bronx, or some from, or some not. Because I know you go into past and present, so I just wondered if any of you actually lived that, or have family members that were able to share those stories with you. Perhaps we want to talk to Claudia, who is what's your role, Claudia?
One of my roles is Candy, who's a neighborhood teenager who's very concerned with what's going on, and she's kind of in this place where uncertainty is plaguing her life day to day. And as a person who grew up in Puerto Rico, I can heavily relate to Candy with all the activism that's been happening in the island as well. And a part of this show for me has been rediscovering more Puerto Rican history and more Latinx history that is not told in the books. So,
and you're also the insurance broker.
And I'm also the insurance broker.
She's the bad girl.
Yeah. Ooh, ow, nice.
The
You got a
duality
nice
of
range going on there, right?
that.
And so, Miss Sally, I'm gonna assume you're the reporter.
I am. I play the journalist, Linda Gonzalez. Yes.
And
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. I was gonna just probe you a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. So I play the journalist, and it's been a really interesting journey being a part of this cast. I am also the only Dominican in the cast. Everybody's Puerto
Yes.
Rican.
Right, that's
Uh,
why I almost said Puerto Rican, and then I said, wait a minute, I know somebody's Dominican. So,
yeah.
I gotta make sure I'm politically correct because somos primo anyway. So,
Somos
Sí,
primo.
mito.
For
For
sure.
sure, sin duda.
Yeah, but it's been a really wonderful experience to collaborate with everyone and to build these characters who are all, everybody's character is a mix of a bunch of people, you know, and stories that we've pulled from a bunch of people that we're packaging into a person to represent what's going on. And I have a lot of family that live in the Bronx, and my family migrated to the Bronx from DR in the 70s. So to hear some of their stories of what they experienced or what they heard, and then to be able to do a show that they can connect to, which is so rare in this field of work that we do, to have stories that our people can connect to. So that's been a blessing for me doing this part.
yeah, that's why Pregones is such an important institution to the Bronx and abroad because, again, Rosalba opened up with her travels and the stigma that people perceive related to the Bronx. And meanwhile, they're basing it on, the past. It's like, hey, there's a new Bronx, as our Bronx Borough president, who's going to be leaving us soon, always refers to Ruben Diaz Jr. But so the show opened December 3rd. Second, sorry. Today is December 3rd, December 2nd. And it's been 5 years in the making. And you have incorporated all of these advisors, and then you've also incorporated like a fusion of music, and what I'm visualizing is that whole going back into and coming to the present. So what does that look like for an audience member sitting and observing?
We're hoping that, the work of Desmar, the Gar as our composer. So he's been sort of going through, because the band is a combination of generations as well, the four band members. And it's a combination of ages and experiences. And there is so much rich cultural richness coming out of our community in the 70s that we said we would end up with a 10-hour drama, docudrama, and we didn't want to do that. So we've gone to rock. I mean, we do rock and we do the hip hop sound, but then we go into highly theatrical moments where we have to remember that it's theater. It's not a compilation of things, but it's just that the environment we create, hopefully, will give us that sense of presence, that this is what we're experiencing. Because at the end of the day, we're not doing this because we want to be validated in the world. It's about validating ourselves in our own community, in our neighborhood, saying, wow, yeah, we did this. So this is why this is work is still in development. In reality, once we close this this run in 2 weeks, in 2 more weeks, it stays on our repertory for continued development. As we continue to talk, I want to say that part of our advisors have been recorded, and part of their testimonials will be part of the performance.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So
it's multimedia as well.
It is. It's very much so in sound and projections, and so we have some winners here like Elba Cabrera and Joe Conso's testimonials, a firefighter. We do have, and again, the cast is multicultural. We have an Irish actor who plays beautifully, and so it's just this big family of people coming together to tell the story.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish we had more time to talk. We're already out of time, and I'm sorry, because I can see everybody sitting there anxiously awaiting their turn, and they're hard wrapping me. But I do think that in the conversation we have had, it's clear that this is an experience, and it's important for us to support our stories created by us, and the fact that Pregones always honors our people and employs our Latinx artists. It's definitely something that I think everyone should make it their business to check off in experiencing until December 19th. Bueno, thank you for bringing it here to our viewers.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations on mounting. And you guys, once again, torched a People Ignited, opened December 2nd and will run Thursdays through Saturdays until December 19th at Pregones PRTT, located at 575 Walton Avenue near 149th Street and Grand Concourse. Of course, that's in the Bronx. And if you're interested in tickets, you can visit PRTT.org. We do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to hear about an annual toy and coat drive for lower income children. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. So the season of giving is upon us, and well, what better way to end the year than by donating toys and coats to children? Well, our next guest is holding her 9th annual toy and coat drive that will give children in transitional temporary housing a special gift for this holiday season. And joining us to tell us more, we welcome founder and CEO of I Raise Boys and Girls International Corporation, Shanequa E. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Or should I say welcome back? Welcome back. The last time we had you on was in 2020 in the height of the pandemic. And you
Yes.
were, of course, offering services to the next generation. And well, it seems that you are committed to your mission. So let's talk about the drive, but I also want to make sure we discussed the programming that you're currently offering to empower our children, both mentally and with self-esteem.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So we're excited this year. This is our 9th annual give back to kids that are in temporary or transitional housing. This is a very special time because although we are sort of not in the height of the pandemic, we're still there. And a lot of families are still dealing with loss financially, economically. And so this give back means a lot to our families. We have families that started signing up in July for the give back. So we already have families registered, enrolled, and we want to prioritize the families that need it the most in the Bronx. And that's those that are in transitional housing and those that are in temporary housing right now.
So Shanequa, I know we had you on last year and we expressed on your origins, but I thought perhaps we could share a little bit of your origins and why you created I Raise Boys and Girls, so that they understand how and why you're so committed to being a safe space to assist the next generation in just finding some sense of normalcy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love sharing my story. I am a 3rd generation Bronxite. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I come from a very challenging background where I was raised by a single mother of 6 kids. I don't know how she did it all, but she did it. And during the time being raised by my mom in the Bronx, I've seen a lot of community violence, like most of us that live in the Bronx. Seen a lot of loved ones and family members and even friends lose their lives to violence. I grew up in poverty as a child. It wasn't until 5 years old that my mother was able to get permanent housing for my sisters and brothers and I. And so I know what it's like to be a child and to not have stable housing and all the instability emotionally that comes with that as well. And so this is very personal because it comes from a place that I am personally in touch with, and I will never, that will always be a part of me. And I love that because I'm able to build programming that helps to really support and help kids that are most meaningful and most effective. And so I started iRaise about 10 years ago, actually. And it started just to give back to kids in the Bronx because there was a lot of need there. Kids were suffering. You've seen kids in NYCHA and temporary housing that did not know what to do, where to go for support. And so the organization became that safe haven and has multiplied, serving over 10,000 kids throughout New York City and continuing to expand now outside the borders of New York City and to other states. So it's been an amazing blessing and to be on this journey and to stand with families in the most difficult times.
Well, you're like an earth angel. And so seriously, I mean, you just by everything you shared, it's apparent how invested you are in being that stand for these individuals to have a transformative experience. And so that being said, let's talk about See Her, Be Her, which is what I wanted to allude into, because it's an important, just the title itself is important, right? Because we need to be able to relate to the people that are guiding us.
Yeah, I am so excited about See Her, Be Her. It's actually a CEO initiative, which is a project that I'm hands-on carefully designing. And it really derives from young Black girls being really oppressed in so many ways, and really just finding ways to uplift Black girls, giving them tools to deal with things like intergenerational trauma, to deal with feeling not pretty enough, not good enough, dealing with self-esteem issues, right? Black girls are often questioning their self-worth, they're questioning their self-esteem, they're questioning their identity. And you see this theme really that goes on throughout the trajectory of Black women lives. They grow up as Black girls and feeling inadequate, and those same feelings of inadequacy, if they're not dealt with, it translates into their adult years and have, and this is where you see Black women with having a hard time in relationships and with family members and parenting. And so we really need to support Black girls. And this is what See Her, Be Her is about. It's really finding tools that specifically targets Black girls and the issues that Black girls are dealing with in regards to trauma, racism, and oppression and self-esteem. So what will happen with this program is coaches that are Black women are going to be fully invested in the overall development of Black girls. They will be providing life coaching and support to Black girls from age 11 all the way up till 19 years old. They'll be providing educational support, career support, mentorship, the whole package. And so really excited.
Is it a free program?
It is absolutely free.
So
it's 90 days of coaching.
It's a 90-day coaching, free coaching. And is it online?
It is online. And so we're serving kids, not just in New York City, but as I mentioned, we have been serving kids throughout the pandemic in other states, such as North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, Maryland, Connecticut, and New Jersey. So it's open to kids virtually. For those kids that are in New York, though, of course, it's a special treat because they'll be able to see their coaches in person as well as online.
Right, as we gradually reopen and figure out what this new norm is. But we're really running short on time, and I really wanted to at least mention the Generation Z project, the college and career prep for teens. But I gotta tell you, Shanequa, like they're wrapping me right now. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to end with at least making mention of it.
Yeah, the career access quickly is the Generation Z program, and it's opening access to teenagers in New York City who are interested in careers of medicine, law, technology, entrepreneurship, politics, and science. So if there's any teenager that's 15 years old to 19 years old. They will receive free college access to begin to explore early career pathways in one of these careers. And so it's a great program. The kids graduate from the programs, there's scholarships at the end. It also helps to place kids in top colleges and universities, Ivy League schools, and historically Black colleges throughout the United States.
Yes, 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 sister. Shanequa Moore, founder and CEO of I Raise Boys and Girls, and you are walking the walk for our next generation. What a blessing you are to all of us. And I just want to share with everyone the information regarding the event that you have going on. By the way, can people still make donations?
Yes. So anyone can make donations. There is a form that we require any donors to fill out, but we're absolutely accepting donations. So if you're interested in making a donation, you can go to our website. There should be a donation form there where you can fill it out. You can make an in-kind donation where you can purchase a toy, or you can make a monetary donation.
Wonderful. And once again, you guys, the donation we're referring to is the 9th annual Toy and Coat Drive that will be taking place on Saturday, December 18th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Bronx Studio for Artists and Writers at 928 Simpson Avenue in the Bronx. And for more information, please visit iraiseinc.org. All right, don't go anywhere. Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
Man, Uncle Steve certainly knows how to shop on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. The wealthy Mets owner, Steve Cohen, agreed to a 3-year, $130 million contract with 3-time Cy Young Award winner Max Scherzer. That move came on the heels of deals for Starling Marte, Mark Canha, and Eduardo Escobar last Friday. The Mad Max deal teamed Scherzer atop the Mets rotation with 2-time Cy Young Award winner Jacob deGrom, forming one of the most accomplished pitching tandems in Major League Baseball history. From a wider perspective, fans, it signifies the Mets' continued push to become one of baseball's model franchises, as in they can go out and get any free agent they want. 5 stars for the Mets here, good enough to headline on 5 on 5 at number 5. We'll keep the good times rolling. In it for a win is a win, even if it's an ugly one. Perhaps the Giants were inspired by Michael Strahan's jersey retirement. I see you, number 92, or simply the presence of their longtime rival, Philadelphia. No matter the reasoning here, it was an ugly 13-7 win, but when wins are in short supply, you take what you can get when you can get it. The Giants are 4-7 and technically still in the playoff hunt. Here's more with the G-Men.
I think with the defense, the point we made this week was it's just about team defense. And that sounds generic, right? We say that a lot, team defense. When you play a team like this, and when you look at the offense in terms of how they make a lot of plays, and they've been so productive with the run game specifically in the last few weeks, and really what leads to those runs being so productive. And a lot of times they do a good job coming off the ball, so don't take this the wrong way, but they do a really good job, more so than just knocking you off the ball, of getting you out of lanes, getting you misfits, getting the edge, getting you out of the C-gap, whatever it may be. And they really go ahead and they pose a threat and pose issues with the way that quarterback can run. And the one thing he does a really, really good job of is he holds that thing at that mesh point for a long time. And that really forces the read and it forces you to declare as a defense and how you're going to play. And this guy does a really good job of running this offense.
Making sure everybody's getting reps, everybody knows what they're doing. It was times like when it did happen, when the switches were made, we just had to communicate with each other off the field just to make sure everybody knew exactly what they were doing on what call. So I feel like we did that and we played well. We didn't miss a beat, which was a really good thing for our unit.
Winning weekend for the NFL locals here in the tri-state area. Giants grab the fourth spot. The Jets come in here at number 3. Gang Green beat the Texans last Sunday, 21-14, to notch their third victory of the season. Zach Wilson was not impressive at quarterback and his return from a knee injury, but as he has been in the previous wins, looked much better in the second half after calming down for the Jets. The Jets, too, will take it here.
He throws those little rockets. So he'll figure all that stuff out. But I thought, for the most part, we get that turnover to start the game. Offense gets down there. We're able to get a field goal out of it. And then we kind of hit a lull there where there was a lot of 3-and-outs and defense battling, gave up a couple of touchdowns. But that drive before the half was huge. I thought they did a great job. They worked all the way down the field, scored that touchdown. We get a chance to lap them, which we did, which is big. And but in that second half, just he made the plays he needed to make, and the offensive line did a great job opening up seams for our running backs. And I think we were averaging over 4.5 a clip, so it was a really good day offensively.
My mentality in those is to rip the ball, and that's why I'm not playing timid, and that's why some of those are probably coming in fast, because I'm telling myself just to rip it, play free and let it go. And yeah, I got to adjust, and I will. I'm gonna work on that with those guys, but that's why some of them came in like that, is I'm trying just to play fast. Those big plays, and I told the coaches on the sideline, I'm like, even though things are rough, I keep calling it. We're gonna be good. I'm gonna get into that rhythm, into that flow, and so. You got to be able to just hit that reset button and just say, on to the next play. And so that was the challenge for tonight, is how can I just keep going and keep pushing through. And, we got some good plays there, and Elijah made some great catches, but, we just got to get that going from the beginning. I got to get that going. These guys have showed they can do it, and so it's me. I got to hold myself accountable for the way I start and get those guys going from the beginning.
Somewhere college basketball's John Rothstein is tweeting, "Who needs the NFL?" The Hoops Insider often makes the joke on Twitter, and honestly, he might be onto something here. College hoops has been great to start the season, like upset central great, you know what I mean? Last week's most memorable win included a win for the ages for Rick Pitino and the Iona Gales out of New Rochelle. The Gales upended all manners of history in shocking number 10 Alabama 72-68 at the ESPN Events Invitational. Coming in, the all-time record by the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference against Associated Press top 10 teams was 0-119 until Thanksgiving, that is, and a game played just down the road from the Magic Kingdom. You can't make this stuff up. Iona pulled off the upset despite enduring a 4.5-minute scoreless stretch in the second half and going 4 for 21 in three-pointers for the game. The Gales never led by more than 5 in this one. Pitino has now beaten top 10 opponents at 4 different schools: Providence, Kentucky, Louisville, and Iona. The first 3 he coached to the Final Four. Here's more from Pitino and Iona men's basketball.
Alabama has a great team. We knew what we were. We waited a year for this moment because last year we didn't have the team to play against Alabama. We tried awfully hard, came close. This year we felt that they were a great basketball team, and if we could limit them from making a large number of threes, we thought we had a shot. And with the exception of a couple, we did that. We played really, really well tonight. They're a superbly coached basketball team. I have great respect for Nate, great respect for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and right now I have unbelievable respect for my guys.
The Gales had a letdown against Belmont following the upset and then dropped the holiday tourney finale to Kansas. But there's no doubt Iona is on the national radar. Rothstein has them as a top 45 team in the country. We move from 2 to 1 here on the front end of 5 on 5. 5 sports stories that you may have missed and 5 to look out for. In at 1, a tale of 2 in the city's game. The Knicks beat Atlanta and have decided to go forward with Alec Burks at starting point guard, benching Bronx native Kemba Walker for now, while the Nets, despite a better record than the orange and blue, could not handle the red-hot Phoenix Suns in the marquee matchups on the NBA hardwood on the week. Here's more from the NBA.
We held them to 90 points. Them being the second best offense in the league, it shows that we're very capable. Now for us, it's a matter of consistency. Again, we know we can beat anybody, but we also know we can lose against anybody, and play very inconsistently. So we need to look at that win, what we did good, and do it again in a couple of days.
The Knicks and the Nets met on Tuesday night in Brooklyn. We count up here on the back end of 5 on 5, looking at some games that you should be keeping on the calendar this coming weekend. The Knicks host Denver Saturday at MSG, 1 p.m. tip-off there. The Nets come in here at 2 with a pair of weekend games. They host Minnesota tonight and Chicago tomorrow, both 7:30 p.m. starts. And at number 3, F1 comes down to the final 2 Grand Prix of the calendar. This weekend, the Saudi Arabian GP. You can watch Formula 1 at 12:30 in the afternoon, Sunday, right here in the States. Sunday, we'll also see the Giants back in action in the NFL. The G-Men are in Miami to face the Dolphins at 1 p.m. Really good Dolphins defense down there. Meantime, the Jets are home to face the Eagles at MetLife Stadium. That game also kicks at 1. That's 5 on 5 to the C-list for an update on another Bronx point guard. Can't say I was pleased with the Knicks news about Kimba, but his role may be best suited at this point coming off the bench. That is, once he's back in the rotation, hopefully. While the borough's best point guard of recent times is looking to regain his footing in the NBA, it seems like we are getting a taste of the future on the college basketball hardwood. And I'm not afraid to say you heard it here first either. Last year, during holiday time, we sat down with St. Ray's star Malachi Smith to talk about his decision to follow his brother at Dayton. Smith has hit the ground running in college hoops, being named MVP of that same ESPN tournament where Pitino and the Gales made headlines last week. Headlines of his own for Smith. In his 6th college game, Smith held his own against some of the most experienced guards in the country and helped engineer one of the biggest victories in Dayton history. The Flyers beat number 4 Kansas 74-73 on a last-second shot. Smith scored 10 points on 5 of 10 shooting and led the team with 6 assists and 5 turnovers in 34 minutes. He had an even better game in a 76-60 victory against the Miami Hurricanes, scoring 14 points on 6 of 7 shooting and tallying 7 assists without a turnover. Welcome to the national spotlight, Mally's World. That's your look at sports. I'm Bobby C.
Welcome back. So our last guest is an award-winning Bronx-based writer who's helping Latinx women find their voices and tell their stories. Through her Robles Writes production, she's been able to create the Abuela Stories Project and most recently, La Libreta. Her work has been featured on HBO Habla Women, Lincoln Center, Smithsonian Institute Museum of the American Indian, Pan America, World Voices Festival, and Pregones, and that's just to name a few. But bueno, she's here to tell us more about her projects and workshops. Everyone, please welcome poet, author, Peggy Robles-Alvarado. Yeah. I'm actually the most excited because I think the last time we had you on was 2017,
I want to say even 2010.
2010. Ouch, we're dating ourselves. But it's okay because I think it was your first book, Conversations with My Skin, and now you're like what, 3, 4, 5 books in. I don't know if you identify as the author of these projects, but just just bring us up to speed, Mamita, because all this work that you've been doing is phenomenal, and congratulations on your Jerome Hill Foundation Fellow.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very invested in community-based work. I really believe that women of color need to be published, and if it's my job to disrupt the publishing landscape in some way where it can benefit our writers, then I'm going to do that. So all of these projects, I come up with them because I really am vested in just seeing women write their stories. I really believe that we are born storytellers. We're born poets, and our words and stories really, really matter. And as women, we're part of the cultural producers and people that sustain cultures. So that's part of my mission in life. That is my love work, to be able to
Right.
create spaces.
But well, yeah, from for what I understand, because I don't even want to like allow this segment to end without mentioning that one of your students was uh was adamant in sending us a love note on your behalf to have you on without knowing that you and I already have a relationship. And I just found that to be so admirable and so sweet that I was like, oh my gosh, Peggy, I haven't had Peggy on.
I've always said, like, I want to be that person that has and creates community ties. I want to be the person that can branch out and just say, these are people that are in my tribe, that I know that I've given enough kindness and care to them that they will be reciprocal. And it's been happening, it's crazy because we've known each other for so long, and for her to be like, I really want to connect you to, I thought it was great. It was a wonderful conversation.
Talk about full circle. But really, I'm saying all of that to say that there's obviously a sense of nurturing that you provide in order for them to, for lack of a better word, almost show you off. It's kind of like, let me show you my writing mentor, please, please, please. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet, because I have a relationship to Carmen Bitar, right? In a different form, but really this is about what you're offering in your services and the impact that you're having. So let's talk about the different programs so that people are clear about what it is that you're doing with these Latinx stories.
Well, Robles Writes Productions is a literary arts organization, and what we do is that we create intergenerational community healing through literacy, creativity, and equity for the Bronx primarily, but also beyond. Thanks to Zoom and platforms like this, we can reach our community, but also expand out. And we're trying to disrupt the publishing landscape. Part of that is to provide either free or low-cost generative writing workshops. We want to get people writing. Our stories are very limited out there. You know this. We can't be the maid of every screenplay. We can't just be this niche that they've created for us. So in order to do that, we create generative writing workshops, but we also have professional development sessions for writers, because we're not taught the business side of writing. Even if you have an MFA, you're never taught how to create a CV, how to write up a business plan for an idea, or even a project budget. So we do professional development sessions. We also do private consultations, and we curate public readings and performances. That's a big deal for me. I want to make sure that people who have never performed before get on a stage and read their work to an audience. So far, as of June 2021, and this number has increased already, we served 1,567 writers just with our programming. And that's increased so far. And even though our target market are women of color, I heard the call from men who are coming to the workshops and were like, we need a safe space. We need a space where we want to heal and write. So just recently this month, for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, we had Paul de la Torre facilitate 3 virtual sessions, and they were so well received. And it was our pilot program. I wanted to see, how this would work, if it would work, and it did. So we're thinking about expanding programming now for our men, because they also need a place. And all of this was facilitated through community involvement. I send out surveys and I ask questions, and I'm like, what do you need? And what can we provide? And I'm very lucky to receive a lot of micro grants from poets and writers. Shout out to Bronx Council on the Arts, because if it wasn't for these micro grants, I would have never started Robles Writes Productions. So, and super shout out to Jerome Hill Foundation Fellowship, because that grant has allowed me to kind of, expand and the freedom to expand programming that makes sense to our community. So yeah, I'm really excited. And then we have the Abuela Stories digital online archive, where anyone can send in a grandmother story. And I want to emphasize that these grandmother stories do not have to be joyful. They can be grandmother stories that you just want to expel from your body. So we've been receiving them and archiving them online at abuelastories.com. And our latest endeavor was launched on the last day of Poetry Month this year, which is La Libreta.online. And it's an online poetry journal for women of color. You can submit audio poems, written poetry, and visual art. And our deadline for this one is December 1st, but we have we publish 3 times a year. So if you miss this one, you can get on the next one. And we make it a point to publish people, yes, that are seasoned poets, because we want to have that great mix. But we also publish people that, like Carmen Vitar, who had never published before, who kept saying, I'm not a writer, I'm not a writer. And I was like, yes, you are. So if you're unsure as to like, well, I want to send the poem, but I don't know how to do this, send it anyway. We tend to really care about the people that submit. And if it needs work, we'll be honest and we'll say, listen, let's work on it. Let's edit it. Let's help it out. But don't ever fear rejection. Rejection sometimes is just redirection.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we provide a lot of support. And our goal is to really publish women writers of color and to get our stories out there.
Oh
and
my
I especially look for poems that I know are culturally specific, that have indigenous languages, that have amalgamations of languages, because I know that they probably would get rejected in the mainstream canons, right? So we welcome that. We're like, bring it on, let's get it.
All right. Well, I hope everybody's getting, there's your open call, and here's your opportunity to get published and archived digitally and also be guided in the process. It's so lovely. Thank you so much for bringing it to our viewers. Peggy, she's going to perform for us too, because, you know, while she's over there facilitating everyone, she's still writing herself, and we're going to have the privilege of having her perform for us. So you guys don't go anywhere, because when we return, Peggy is going to recite one of her pieces for us when we return.
To media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College. And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv. Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV. From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Hey everyone, welcome back here now to perform Let's Rewrite the National Anthem. Please welcome Peggy Robles-Alvarado.
Let's rewrite the national anthem. Give it a thunderous drum bass that circles the heartbeat core of the earth, resurrecting native tribes that heal with hoop dances, reclaiming fertile lands as birthright. Give it the steady hum of a Negro spiritual, toppling monuments of Confederate soldiers, pulsing the ground with a path to a new freedom chant, with true justice and peace. Give it a hook that's straight up fire, scorching the earth of plantations turned posh wedding destinations, letting each flame birth a new forest of trees whose roots and leaves have never been soaked in blood. Give it some mariachi violins and trumpets, pulling heartbreak from the deepest part of the belly into an that can breach border walls, reuniting children with their parents seeking asylum. Give it some Congo Square bambula root rhythm, some Lower East Side bomba con barriles with men pivoting to wide-hipped women in white skirts who know Puerto Ricans are citizens too. Give it a 3-2 son clave, pa, 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 with accented immigrant lyrics, seasoned code switching stanzas, multilingual verses that sound best when we sing them off key. Give it a sweet fried plantain remix, a barrio basement hooky party grind, a deep tribal house that buckles knees and pulls star-spangled flags hanging from belt loops to wave overhead like carnaval. Give it the true soul of America, built with black and brown hands that can really sing. Esto aquí be the land of the free. This be the home of our brave.
Oh yeah, just like you said, let's rewrite the national anthem. That was Peggy Robles-Alvarado, everyone. Woo! And for more on Peggy Alvarado, check her out on Instagram at Robles Writes and her website, robleswrites.com. And also don't forget to check out her online digital archive, abuelastories.com, and her online poetry journal, lalibreta.online. I hope you got all of that. All right, that is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through. And to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at BronxNet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin. And from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. And bueno, it's officially holiday month, so it's time to spread some cheer, right? Wishing you a happy holiday season.